Hi there, beautiful people. So I thought I'd share something that is coming up time after time again in all of my coaching sessions, pretty much because I'm looking for it on one level, and it's part of the message that I have to share with people. But something that I found super helpful in my own journey with what is commonly called the inner critic, or this inner negative voice that puts us down in some way, makes us feel small, makes us block our own experience of life, makes us, well, persuades us that we're not good enough in some way or another. Um, Many different ways. There are many different ways that this voice can manifest in our lives, and it comes in very, very unconscious ways, and sometimes quite conscious ways in our lives. It's it's known as the inner critic, and I called it this for many years before I realized that this is not really the inner critic at all. I did a bunch of IFS, inner family system work, years ago, and it helped me realize also that this critic was not a critic at all. It's not like a devil on your shoulder that we have to fight, get rid of, avoid with, wrestle with, try and push away, deny in some way or another, which are the normal and quite often taught ways that we are told to act and interact with this voice inside of our heads, which doesn't really make sense because it's a voice which is going on inside of our own heads, and if we're fighting something inside our own head, then we're fighting ourselves. We're fighting ourselves completely, 100%. And and that made me, really dive into it and ask really what this story is about. And then I realized that the inner critic is is not just a devil's story. It's not something that's inherently wrong or bad inside of our own makeup. It's an outdated protector program. So let me explain a little bit what I mean by this. So we have different qualities of our ego, of our identity, of our self, and when we're children, a lot of our ego identity, a lot of the fundamental belief systems that we tend to carry on believing in one way or another are born, integrated, impregnated, and programmed into our subconscious. And they develop, they grow, they change, they shift a little bit. But those fundamental plans are nearly always the simplest ones that come from stories from our childhood, usually before the age of 7. If we go back to those ages and we have a look at what were the primary traumas that we might have had, that we could have had, that we probably experienced, that we kind of either remember or were told about, then we'll find some experiences where we encountered conflict, some experiences where we encountered discomfort, and discomfort, conflict are very mild ways to describe some traumatic experience. Sometimes those traumatic experiences were stronger and much more intense and much more obvious in our lives. But sometimes they were just discomfort. They were experiences which promoted shame, self-doubt, which promoted uncomfortable emotional exchanges with people, and sometimes aggression, violence, and physical, mental, emotional conflict as well. So any of those experiences that we would have had to cope with and deal with before our intellect was developed, quite often before we had a conscious awareness of who we really are, while that consciousness is still developing and growing. And so we developed, or we picked up on, we copied certain coping mechanisms that worked in some way or another. So for example, if we have parents which don't really have much time for us, or maybe we had parents that weren't really there for us emotionally or couldn't really deal with their own emotions, let alone the emotions of a young kid who hasn't learned to maturely express himself very well, then we would have been encouraged to suppress, or our emotional expression would have bumped into conflict, would have bumped into some type of put down. Maybe we would have been told that to shut up, that we were too much, and we would have experienced some sort of traumatic experience, potentially from the self-expression of our own feelings, of our own needs. And I'm putting this out there as a common example. That would have led us to believe that it's not that safe to express our needs and express our emotional feelings at any one time. Our emotional feelings may have been put down, may have been laughed at, we may have been ridiculed at one time, or they may just have been ignored, and they may just have made a certain conflicting situation worse, in which case we learn, okay, how can I avoid the conflict? Because the conflict is usually worse than the need to express ourselves. And so the outcome, or the result of expressing ourselves or sharing who we are in some way or another, is easier to shut down than it is to manage a conflict which we don't seem to be in control of. So we may have told ourselves it's not safe to share our feelings. We may have told ourselves it's not safe to express our needs to the world. And this is something that comes up in a lot of people and in a lot of us. There may not have been time for our parents realistically. There may have not have been the consciousness in our parents to be able to deal with so much more energy than their own. And this is all understandable. There may have been some psychological problems with our parents that they may have reacted with more stronger conflict and more violent conflict. And this would have created an even stronger need to be really aware of our environment and have a few automatic coping mechanisms in place that would keep us safe from potential conflicts that could happen, that would keep us safe from any emotional stories or any issues that we have a certain amount of control over. So we developed coping mechanisms that told us, hey, don't do that. Hey, stop doing this. Hey, you're not good enough to do this. And the I'm not good enough story, which probably echoes the voice of a sibling or a parent or something that was told us at one time or another in our lives, it becomes a mechanism that helps us shut up. It becomes a voice that can help us stay small, that can help us stop voicing our truth to the world when that might create some conflict. And we practice that unconsciously. We just practice it and we see that it works. Hey, we practice another thing which is very common, which is a hyper alertness to danger. So this is a common story in psychology where we become hypersensitive to potential dangers so that we can avoid danger. So when we're children, if we've got an angry, aggressive father, for example, or a mother for that matter, then we need to be hyper alert to their mood swings, their frame of mind, where they are in their lives, so that we can potentially avoid conflict and avoiding them if we need to. We can adjust our personality and how we express ourselves according to what the mood is in the emotional environment around us, so that we can stay safe, simply so that we can stay safe. And so our protector is born in that time to keep us safe. And a part of our identity and our ego tries to keep us safe by shutting us up, tries to keep us safe by being hyper alert to any potential danger that there is in our environment. And we become anxious. And anxiety, or one of the reasons for anxiety, is the skill that we've developed to be hypersensitive to our emotional environments so that we can stay safe. Then we grow up and we'll have 100 more experiences with anxiety, 1,000 more experiences with shutting up and keeping ourselves small, putting other people first, for example. And in each of those experiences, we would have told ourselves, either consciously or subconsciously, that, hey, we avoided conflict here. We we got on well with people. We smoothed over what could have been a disastrous experience, what could have been a very painful experience. We made it less so. And so our experience backs up the idea that this is the best form of safety and the best form of self-protection. Obviously, when we become adults, we move out of any environments where there might have been a lack of emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical safety. Those rules start to change, but the programs don't. And so our protector still thinks probably we're 12 years old or 15 years old and is protecting us with these coping mechanisms because we haven't got any other options. Then we grow older, we become a little bit more psychologically self-aware, and we're still running on these old programs. We've still got a voice inside of ourselves that's trying to put us down, to keep us small, to make us little, or to shut us up, or to tell us that we're not good enough so that we can avoid some sort of emotional trauma. Like, I remember with me, my critical voice would stop me daring to do things because of the fear of emotional disappointment that would come from the lack of success, from not being able to succeed in any endeavor that I might jump into, or just the disappointment of rejection. And so I would avoid expressing my truth, avoid expressing my honesty, and avoid daring to do things sometimes that could potentially lead to an emotional distress inside of me without knowing why I did it. And I would be telling myself stories in my own head that would promote me denying being myself, honestly, and being more mature and more courageous, and sharing who I am on a more simple and honest level. And this is something that that happens on all levels. But because my protector was telling me, hey, it's not safe to do this. It's safer if you stay small. It's safer if you stay little. And you can do that so easily. You're so good at it already. And yeah, we get really good at it. And yet, if we turn around and have a conversation with this protector, and we can all do this, you can all say, hey, protector, I see that you're running on this idea that I'm not allowed to, share my truth because it's dangerous. Guess what? I'm 50 years old now, and this isn't true for me anymore. No way. Yeah, honest. I'm really old and mature now, supposedly. And hey, guess what? Guess what would help me right now? What would help me and keep me safe right now? And this is a good practice for everybody to do. Find one of those core beliefs that stretches way back into your early childhood. If you can identify that core belief, then see if you can find a statement that feels like a new version of safety, a new version of how to look after yourself, a new version of what protecting yourself right now in this modern day, here and now, what that actually looks like and what that sounds like. And then you take that sentence and you tell it to the protector, and you say, hey, protector, I've got a new job for you. You're running on a little bit of an outdated program that sounds like inner criticism, and I know it had my best wishes, my best in mind when you're sharing those thoughts to me and trying to help keep me safe and keep me small. But right now, what protects me or what keeps me safe is the idea that I can express myself, that I am not safe unless I express my truth at every moment in my life, obviously with discretion and discernment. But if I don't express myself, I am not safe. And so right now, I'd like you to switch that program. And this is the updated version. It sounds like this. Do you think you can tell me that? Do you think you can whisper the voice of, hey, I'm strong, I'm courageous, I can handle any adversity, I can handle disappointment, and I can handle rejection. All I have to do is be daring to share myself and to share what I want with the world. And if the world doesn't want to give it to me, then I can stay positive, and I'm good with that. Can you share those messages with me? Can you tell me that I am capable and I am good enough for love, that I'm good enough for success, that I'm good enough for just as I am, without needing to change, without needing to be a better version of myself? Can you help me with that? Because these messages are going to be a more updated version of what protecting and keeping me safe looks like. And if that inner protector inside of us doesn't turn around and say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, I'm up for that, I'll be there for you, then you're probably not talking to the inner protector. But a lot of people will see this inner critic literally like a demon, and it can be an inherited inner critic to the point where it actually has a darker entity feel to it, and so we become scared of it, and it becomes so strong, and it has such a strong multifaceted identity to it that it feels like a being on its own, and we feel like we've got this negative being in our heads, when in reality it's just an outdated protector program. Use this tool, use this idea, see if you can play with it, and see if you can have beautiful conversations with this protector, where you can encourage this protector to start looking after you in a different way, a way that is not based on a coping mechanism orientated around a 5-year-old child, but instead something that's much more update to who you are right here, right now. I've got a lovely black eye here. Oh, here's I thought about throwing this out there. Anybody who made it to the end of this video and you have some sort of some budding psychic ability and you can figure out how I got this black eye, great. Drop me a line, drop me a comment on this video, and anybody gets it right gets a free reading from me. I'm happy to give that away. Much love to you all. This is my dedication to Bina, the goddess mother. Much love to you all, May, and have a great time with your inner protector, not critic at all, but a part of you that really wants the best for you. Take care.